Hey, it's Lindsay. In this next video, I'm going to show you what to do with your chunks of data if you want to summarize pieces of it. So in the last episode, we talked about how to just look at your data in certain chunks. Now, let's say you have your data set laying out in front of you, but you want to see maybe just like a sum of a certain part of it. So I will show you how to do that. Now, for example, if you wanted to know the sum of all of this information, which is your sales sheet, say you wanted to know how much revenue you made across all of your stores. And you may, know this one, you just would do like an equals sum. And then you can either put in individual cell references. So you could do like, F2, F3, F4, F5, but generally when you've got something like this, you can just put in a range. So you would select the first cell in your range, click and drag to the bottom of your reference range, and close your parentheses and enter. Now, this is giving you everything, but if you wanted to look at individual stores, maybe you would think, I would like to just filter, which is what we did before, right? We turned our filters on, said we just wanted to look at our first store, and although it gives you that data only up here, it didn't change the revenue line. And the reason for that is it's still summing on the same range. Even though those cells are hidden, it's still considering them in the calculation. But there is a way to do it. I will show you the way. Okay, so you could just say, I really just want to know, and before I do that, I'm going to move where I'm working with cell references, and the reason for that is I'm going to make it easier on myself, and instead of giving a range like F2 to F19, I just want to see all of column F, and also when I turn the filters on, I want us to still be able to see what's going on. So I'm going to delete what's there, and I'm going to come over here and say equals sum and pick up all of column F. And so now my sum's out there and I didn't have to give it a specific range. If I had done that in this cell, I'm just going to see, I know in like the PC you definitely get an error. Yeah, so it's going to tell you that it's a circular reference, meaning that you would be summing both the sum and all of the parts, and it would just go on forever because it would always be summing it. So you don't really want to do that. Okay, so this was, let me just shift it out one more so that we're not looking at a circular wheel of death, so that we're not overlapping the note section if when we filter that anything goes away there. I think we're okay, but I'm just going to shift it off to the side. This is your total revenue. And now say I wanted to also know the revenue of each of my stores individually. I can say my first store, doesn't really matter capitalization, but second store, we'll just make it look pretty. My third store. Okay, and then the way that I'm going to sum these values is with a SUMIF formula. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to do is say, only give me a sum in the range if the criteria is met. I know it's confusing and it's literally just what it says here, but it makes more sense if I show you, I think. So the first range that it's asking for is the range that your criteria is in. What we're going to say is that whenever you see my first store in column D, sum what's in column F. Okay, so the range that we're looking into is column D. We're looking for my first store. I can either type my first store in here in quotes, comma, or your other option is, you can just click your cell because that's what's in that cell. Okay, and then it's going to want your sum range, which is still F to F, okay? Now I've just got my first store reference. Well, how can you be so sure, Lindsay? Well, if you do your filters on your location again, and you just click my first store, and you highlight the cells that are now active there just by starting with the top and clicking and dragging down, you'll see at the bottom your sum will pop up here. This is the same in the PC. The PC actually shows you a couple of others alongside it. Here you would have a little drop down. You could also see your average if you wanted to, your count, min, max. But this works for now because I just wanted to verify that the first store sum is working properly. Okay, so if I want to see my second and third store, I can just take this crosshair and drag it down to the next 2 cells, and what that did was it followed along and said, okay, now I think you're gonna want H23. So it's a relative reference, meaning that it thinks that I want the next line down. Okay, so it already knew second store, already knew third store, and I wanted to explore this. Formula refers to empty cells. It's not a really big deal. Sometimes the little exclamation point's just there to play tricks with your brain. No reason to freak out. That's obviously not a big deal. It's saying you have blank cells, and of course I have blank cells. I said just take all of that. It's not a big deal. No problem. But yeah, if you wanted to just check your data again, you're more than welcome to do that. Your second store should be 163.94, and there it is. So I'm going to say 2 out of 3 is a charm. It's how it works, and there you go. That's how you could group your data. In the next video, I'll show you some other tricks about how to maybe move this off so that if you wanted to refresh this over and over again, you would just refresh your data and you would have the summary ready to go.